It's the day of the Chinese New Year's Eve festival. Jiayun, a scrawny, timid boy, rides around town, heading to the Spring Festival Lion Dance competition. Somewhere around town, a girl Jiayun shares a lion dance games flyer with the people around. As two teams of lion dancers compete at the festival, a popular group of intimidating lion dancers arrive, led by a man named Chad. When Jiayun arrives at the scene, he crawls his way through the crowd, excited. Getting to the front, he takes a watermelon and begins to imitate the lion dancers. Irritated by his presence, Chad smites the watermelon in half and teases Jiayun about having a watermelon head. Jiayun tells him he's simply having fun and wishes Chad a happy new year, but Chad wants no greetings from him. He believes he's been jinxed by Jiayun and, in return, demands a red pocket from Jiayun as compensation. When Jiayun is reluctant, the other members of the group threaten to beat him up. Afraid for himself, Jiayun hands it over. Chad, satisfied, smacks him away and leaves with his group. Suddenly, a red lion swooshes in and challenges Chad to a lettuce-picking battle. Furious, Chad demands his lion head. As the battle begins, Jiayun shows his support for the red lion, but gets silenced by Chad's terrifying group. Heading to a conclusion, the red lion catches the lettuce and wins the challenge. Jealous of the victory, Chad commands his group to attack the red lion, but she escapes with the help of Jiayun and they ride away together. After getting to safety, the red lion reveals herself to be girl Jiayun. She bears the same name as Jiayun. She asks Jiayun why he brought her to a hilltop where they could be easily seen from the town below. Panicking, Jiayun offers to get her somewhere else, but girl Jiayun tells him there will be no need. After asking his name and discovering they bear the same name, they share a laugh. Then girl Jiayun gives him her red lion, asking him to keep it for himself. Reluctant, Jiayun tells her he can't do the lion dance. However, girl Jiayun, unbothered, asks him to get up and put on the lion head. When he does, she tells him to close his eyes and listen to his heartbeat. She tells him to become a fierce lion, and gives him a flyer. After reading it, Jiayun discovers girl Jiayun is a champion and promotional ambassador for the lion dance games. Skeptical, he asks her if she thinks he can become a lion dancer himself, which she affirms as a possibility, and just then, a hero flower falls on him, a symbol of being chosen for something special. On the eve of the new year, Jiayun speaks with his parents who live far away in Guangzhou. They promise to come home the next year and watch the lion dance together, hoping they get some free time from work. When Jiayun brags about taking care of them, his mom warns him to focus on schoolwork, while they continue to take on more work and save money for his college tuition. Later, while praying, Jiayun wishes to visit his parents. The next day, Jiayun informs his friend, Kat, that he wants to become a lion dancer and wishes to participate in the lion dance games. Kat takes it for a joke and asks if he hit his head. He doesn't wish to be counted in, as he believes they can't even afford a lion head. When Jiayun shows him the red lion, Kat is dumbstruck. He asks where Jiayun stole it from and suggests they sell it, but Jiayun refuses. He calls it a gift given to him by a girl. Hearing that, Kat asks to be told in detail everything that happened to the girl. When Jiayun shows him the flyer, Kat begins to drool. Pretending not to be impressed, he asks if they'll meet some pretty girls at the lion dance games, to which Jiayun affirms. Excited, Kat tells Jiayun he's always dreamed about becoming a lion dancer. Together, they meet Doggy and ask that he helps them beat the drum. While trying to turn them down, Doggy's employer fires Doggy for eating all the beef balls while working. After getting together, Jiayun, Kat, and Doggy realize they don't have a drum, so they set out to town, asking for support for a drum. While paddling through, Doggy is hit by an egg, and the trio comes crashing nastily to the ground. Responsible for their mishap, Chad and his group mock them as a team of stray cats and dogs who can't perform lion dancing. Suddenly, Chad steps forward to challenge Jiayun. When he recognizes the red lion, he asks which one of them wore it in the lettuce-picking contest. When the trio denies it, Chad angrily steps on it, squashing their spirits along with it, then he kicks it away. He suggests they buy another, but taunting them, reminds Jiayun that his parents are poor. Angry and out of control, Jiayun attacks Chad, but gets repelled off easily and gets beat up by the group. Later at dusk, Jiayun and his friends decide to abandon the damaged red lion. After climbing down the rooftop, they abruptly emerge again, hearing the sound of drumbeats. Surprised and breathless, they look around and discover some lion dancing teams rehearsing a performance. The trio watches in envy and admiration. Devastated, Jiayun suggests they try again, however, the others are too afraid and reluctant. Jiayun gets determined and lets out a scream. The others, inspired, also scream. Jiayun, Kat and Doggy sit outside a lion dance school. They refuse to leave, even in the rain and sunshine. After an exhausting day, an old man emerges and asks if they've come to learn the lion dance. When the trio answer yes, he hands them a map to find a renowned lion dancing coach. Excited by the prospect of it, Jaeyoon and his friends follow the map. Unfortunately, though, they come to a dead end. Disappointed, they return to the old man, who gives them another map. Optimistic, the trio again follow the map, but unfortunately, come to another dead end. Frustrated and exhausted, they take the old man and make him lead the way. Finally arriving at an old shop nearby, the trio gawk in disbelief. Hesitant, they approach the shop. When they see an elderly man, they turn away, disappointed. Just as they leave, the elderly man, whose name is Chang, begins to sway around with impressive moves. Enchanted by him, they stare, starstruck. Suddenly, Chang gets smacked in the face by his wife, Mrs. Chang, who complains he's late to deliver fish. Shaken and distorted, Chang hurriedly gets on his bike and rides away, with the trio trailing him. Chang arrives at a restaurant for his delivery. Jaeyoon and his friends struggle to catch up with him, exhausted. Finally getting to him, they help him deliver his fish. Suspicious, he asks them what they want. As Kat shows him the flyer, he says they wish to be taught the lion dancing. Chang, seeing the flyer, is dumbfounded. The flyer brings back old memories to him. All of a sudden, Chang gets some money tossed at his face. The shop owner, fuming, mocks him about always delivering the fish late. He ironically suggests Chang delivers the fish at midnight instead, so he'll be closed up by then anyway. He tells him to go home and look himself in the mirror. Resigned, Chang tells Jaeyoon and his friends that he's only a fish seller, as they don't seem to have the talent for lion dancing anyway. He asks them to leave and gives Jaeyoon money to buy popsicles, before riding off. Later, the trio wait outside the old shop again while Chang works. Chang looks uncomfortably at them. The next day, while delivering fish, the trio follow Chang again, exhausted. Finally, Chang leads them to a team of lion dancers, practicing. He asks Jaeyoon and his friends to show him what they've learned so far. After a dreary, lifeless performance, the rehearsing lion team begin to laugh at them. Later, Jaeyoon and his friends run after Chang, suffocated. He tells them they're terrible as lion dancers. When Jaeyoon has an emotional meltdown and demands a chance to prove themselves, Chang finally heeds, telling them lion dancing requires physicality. In the course of some weeks, Chang begins to teach them lion dancing. One night, during supper, Kat asks Chang to become their team leader when they go into the competition. Chang, upset, tells them he's only agreed to coach them because they help deliver fish for free, and that he has a family to feed. Suddenly, Mrs. Chang jerks up from her seat and heads in. Chang, afraid of upsetting her, threatens Kat to never bring up such a conversation in her presence. However, when Mrs. Chang appears, she unwraps Chang's old lion dance team uniform. Somber, she promises to begin delivering fish so Chang can watch over the shop and have more time to train Jaeyoon and his friends. Overwhelmed, Chang begins to cry. After hearing their conversation, Jaeyoon and his friends insist on continuing with the deliveries. Still overwhelmed, Chang goes to a corner to cry. The trio, stunned, ask Mrs. Chang why Chang is so emotional, so she tells them he was the best lion dancer in town. She says it made him so happy. Unfortunately, he'd been made to stop because much money doesn't come from lion dancing, and it's impossible to properly feed one's family from it. However, she suggests they put their hearts in it and not make a joke of themselves. Later that night, the trio continue to practice lion dancing. At Chang's home, he secretly searches for something in the cabinets, then pretends to dust the place when Mrs. Chang shows up. Moody, she asks him to get a new lion head and a drum for Jaeyoon and his friends, then she suggests taking them as their own kids since they have none. Later in the day, Chang asks Jaeyoon and his friends to get on his motorcycle, as he intends to take them someplace. Doggy looks reluctant to get on it, but Chang urges him on, promising the motorcycle is strong enough to carry them all. When Doggy eventually gets on it, its parts begin to separate. Arriving at their destination, the motorcycle breaks apart. Resigned, Chang leads them to a shop to buy a new lion head and a drum. Later, Chang holds a competition for the trio, a mini lettuce picking contest, but the trio are badly humiliated. After the competition, the trio look dejected. Chang, trying to comfort them, says they did their best and still look tenacious. He advises they look their best, regardless of their opponents. Thereafter they begin another round of training. During the Lion Dance Games qualifiers, the trio realize they've been drawn with the same team that defeated them in the mini competition. While preparing to join the trio, Chang comes across his wife who's delivering fish. Seeing her suffer insults, he's racked with guilt and returns to the shop to support her. Mrs. Chang reminds him he ought to be with his dancing team, but when it becomes obvious he's being plagued with guilt, she confesses feeling guilty about making him quit lion dancing and asks him to cheer the boys to success, riding off quickly before he can object. Jaeyoon and his friends look dispirited, seeing Chang absent. They get taunted by the crowd and almost retreat. However, Jaeyoon gets determined and jeers then on. After the competitions are over for the day, Chang hurries in, out of breath, and finds the trio seated dejectedly on the ground. He's unsure of the outcome, but encouragingly tells them they'll give it another chance next time. Just then, the trio show him their winning ticket, implying they've qualified for the next round. Excitedly, they jump around him. Later that night, they celebrate their victory with a meal. Kat tells Jaeyoon his dream of competing in Gwangju and proving to his parents that he's no longer weak is about to come true. As Chang warns them not to get cocky, that the competitions aren't over and their next opponents are going to be a lot tougher, Jaeyoon receives news that his parents have returned. Excited, he runs home, fast as he can. When he arrives, he discovers there's silence around. He goes in only to discover his father terribly injured and unconscious, and his mom, tearful. She explains to him that his father fell while working on a construction site. She says his vitals are stable, but he's been in a coma. When Jaeyoon asks about the report from the doctor, his grandpa tells him the doctor merely suggested that he be taken home and by some miracle, he might wake up. Crushed by the news, Jaeyoon turns away, but spots his friends and Chang, standing at the door. Drawn to tears, Jaeyoon runs off to his usual praying spot. He weeps, convinced he's responsible for his father's accident because he failed to include in his prayers that he wishes to see his parents return home safely. On one rainy morning, Jaeyoon informs his mom and grandpa that he has to leave so he can find a way to send them money, adding that he's a grown-up and oughts to do what needs to be done. At the park, Jaeyoon bids his friends goodbye, as they all look forlorn. Right before getting on the bus, Jaeyoon promises to return when he makes enough money. He says they shouldn't participate in the lion dance games without him, insisting he'll be back just in time for it. While riding off in the bus, sullen, Jaeyoon sees his friends and Chang riding closer and performing the lion dance in his honor. They tell him no matter what happens, he has to remember their drumbeats and must remain a fierce lion. In Gwangju, Jaeyoon works at a construction site. Later, he begins to work at a restaurant, juggling between several challenging jobs. Meanwhile, his friends continue to train. When they grow tired they wonder if Jaeyoon is ever going to return. One day, while resting, a boy approaches Jaeyoon and tells him about a side job that pays double what they earn. He asks if Jaeyoon is interested. Intrigued by the idea of making extra cash, Jaeyoon accepts. While on the phone with his mom, he tells her he has to go to Shanghai, of which she disapproves. Jaeyoon tells her he's going with a few friends so he can get some extra money. Uncomfortable about the idea, she asks him to be patient and to return home if he can't continue anymore. Brought to tears, Jaeyoon insists he's a grown-up and can provide for the family. In the meantime, while Kat, Doggy, and Chang are eating, they watch the news on TV about the lion dance games, promising great prizes to the champion and live streaming on TV. Skeptical, Kat asks if they'll still be participating in it, as Jaeyoon is absent from the team, but Chang gives no answer. While running in the rain, Jaeyoon stumbles and loses his delivery packages. As he frantically picks it up, girl Jaeyoon, who gave him her red lion after the lettuce picking contest, helps him to pick up the last parcel. Jaeyoon is surprised to see her. Later, while riding in her car, girl Jaeyoon asks him why he's working, considering he's still so young. Bleak, he tells her he's trying to gain more life experiences. When she asks him about the lion head and if he practiced with it, Jaeyoon hangs his head in shame. Disappointed, she tells him her family didn't want her to keep participating in the lion dance games because she's a girl, so she stopped participating and became a promotional ambassador instead. She admits she would have loved to see Jaeyoon in the red lion she gave him. Letting him out of her car, she encourages him not to give up and reminds him he's been chosen by the hero flower. After she leaves, Jaeyoon throws the crumpled hero flower to the ground, determined not to return to lion dancing. Chang, Kat, and Doggy prepare to join Jaeyoon. Anxiously, Kat wonders what they'll do if they don't find him. In a bid to cheer them up, Mrs. Chang suggests they return home then. While heading to work, Jaeyoon's friend informs him they'll be leaving the next day. Undeterred, Jaeyoon tells him he needs to receive his payment from work before leaving. Surprised, the boy asks why Jaeyoon is always in need of money, even after taking on several jobs. Jaeyoon leaves without giving an answer. Traveling in the rain, Jaeyoon delivers food to a group of lion dancers. Upset that he's half an hour late, the lion dancers threaten to hurt him, as they accuse him of making them train hungry. Quickly, Jaeyoon apologizes. When he gets summoned by their leader, he's asked if he was a lion dancer. When Jaeyoon affirms so, the leader throws his money to the floor and brushes him off. Devastated, Jaeyoon slugs off, However, when he's called a loser, he retorts immediately that he's no loser. Feeling challenged, the group ask him what then he is, but Jaeyoon, in no mood for a tussle, quietly walks away. Riding back in the rain, he recalls Chung telling him to remain a fierce lion. While having dinner, Chung tells Cat and Doggy he intends to participate in the lion dance games, as the tournament will be live-streamed and Jaeyoon might get to see them. Curious, Doggy wonders if Jaeyoon still practices the lion dance, but Chung is undeterred. He says their lives are like a lion dance. Meanwhile, Jaeyoon lies underneath a bed, awake. Inspired by a sudden thought, he takes his lion head and goes up to the rooftop to perform a sensational lion dance. As the morning sun begins to come up, he takes in the moment emphatically. While traveling with his friend, Jaeyoon decides to abandon the lion head, as he intends to move forward from lion dancing. Coincidentally, they decide to stop at the lion dance games. As the teams are introduced, Chung, Cat, and Doggy prepare themselves for the challenge. During a freestyle lion dance competition, while other teams perform, Chung waits for the presence of a judge, unwilling to waste his strength performing while no one is watching. As a judge finally approaches them, they begin to perform their freestyle, much to the awe of everyone. After qualifying for the next round, Chung and his team fidget when they encounter a new challenge. Wavering, they scurry to a lane with lesser teams. When other teams discover Chung's team has an advantage, they join their lane and decide to work together to kick them out. While the competition goes on, it becomes apparent that Chung's team have very little chance of winning. With the competition almost over, Jaeyoon shows up out of nowhere and helps them win. Happily, he reunites with Chung and his friends. In the next round, Chad's team gets eliminated. However, Jaeyoon's team emerge victorious and head to the final. In the final, Jaeyoon's team compete in a lettuce-picking contest, which ends in a tie. In overtime, Chung tells Jaeyoon and Cat not to act tough, but rather focus on their safety. Cat insists they want to win and are willing to do whatever it takes. After a dazzling performance from their opponent, Jaeyoon is revealed to be wounded and advised not to perform. Chad, upset, offers to perform in his place, but it's not allowed. When Chung suggests forfeiting, Jaeyoon insists he'll perform. Pacifying him, Chung tells him to be proud of himself and to accept there's no shame in forfeiting, but Jaeyoon remains persistent. Jaeyoon reminds him about a time Chung told him fierce lions fight until the end, and determined, he sets off with Cat. After a great performance, they encounter an insurmountable odd. Cat, breathless, asks that they take the easier route, but Jaeyoon is determined to take a higher risk. When it begins to get windy, the other teams hurry out to support the stake from falling. In a bid to encourage him, Girl Jaeyoon and some teams' drummers begin to show support for Jaeyoon. Inspired, Jaeyoon and Cat resume their performance. Just as Jaeyoon gets launched forward, he recalls watching lion dancing with his parents and learning the history of the dance, intrigued by the whole idea of it. As he soars into the air, he tosses the lion's head to the top of the tallest stake and falls into the water, with everyone watching in amazement, a sight like none other.